Hi everybody, Chris Titley here and welcome to Scoreboard. This episode is powered by Swyftx, Australia's top-rated crypto exchange and proudly homegrown, just like many of the athletes and business leaders we feature on Scoreboard.
Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard the podcast, I'm joined by Jack Wildermuth, live here in, it's quite a muggy Brisbane day. What are we on now? The 4th of September. How you going, Jack?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, starting to warm up a little bit up in Brizzy.
Mate, it's full season, full swing in cricket as well. There's a bit of a T20 max thing going on. How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been, I guess, the start of our cricket season up here, playing the KFC T20 Max, representing Valleys myself. And it's been going pretty good. It's a great way to get stuck into the cricket season. It's really growing the competition. So
yeah, cricket seems to be, it's almost all year round now. Do you get much of a break?
Get a couple of months off in April, May, but into heavy kind of pre-season, I guess. But mate, cricket it's just extending further and further through the year. So look, I'll find time to have a break, but yeah, it's certainly getting pretty busy.
What do you get up to in the break?
To be honest, I have my two little girls. Is one thing. I actually spend that time trying to get my body in. I have a bit of a reset, but also try and get it in decent shape, I guess, going into a pre-season. So, yeah, that's how I spend my time a little bit.
Mate, it's not your first rodeo when it comes to cricket and this season. How's your relationship with cricket been over the last decade or so?
Mate, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, to be honest. Cricket for me is, you're growing up playing the game, you love it, and for me to be where I am now, I never probably would have thought I would have been 11 years into playing as a job, I guess. So I look back and I feel privileged, I guess, I've had the career I've been able to have. There's definitely moments where, you probably don't play at your best or, struggles physically, performance, but you try and ride the highs, and that's probably how I'd shape it. As
you were growing up, the emergence of 2020 came about, and then I would just probably describe you as more of a red ball specialist, but then white ball's taken a bit of a ramp up as well. How did you balance that in your career and I suppose your youth cricket?
Yeah, certainly. Growing up, obviously there was a lot more red ball, and the T20 kind of come along, and probably white ball one days kind of slide a little bit. It's almost like very similar these days when you T20 one day cricket. For me, I've always loved the long form of the game, and I felt like my game, technically and all that sort of stuff suited to it. But I've had to probably evolve my game, especially over the last couple of years, about how I go about playing red ball as well. And it's actually not that big a difference now between my white ball and my red ball, I would say. So
yeah, do you reckon that's a common occurrence, or is it player by player?
I would say it's player by player, but maybe it's something I've just built some confidence in my game, and I know for me to impact the game, that's just the way I got to go about it. I think these days the game's changed, and I have to change my game a little bit to go with it. You can't really fall behind.
No, that's true. But then also the point, like where the game is going, you're comfortable with it in terms of like some of the moves you have to play now and the shots that you play. Like obviously there's a new training regime, whereas 10 years ago I've never played this shot at a junior cricket, and I've got hundreds before.
For sure. No, there's definitely you feel like there's more risks you have to take. But I think these days you're encouraged to take those risks a bit more, perhaps, they don't come off, but you also train for it as well. So that's just, I think over time been having the environment and being allowed to take risks has probably propelled me and given me the confidence to do that. And just having the attitude of, hey, take the game on a bit,
Yeah, but then it comes to the red ball side. You're going to have to tone it back a little bit because you're a little bit patient. You've got you can bat time, right, or bowl time, etc. Yeah. And then it's like that's flick off, flick on. Is that difficult?
Yeah, it has been in the past, and something I probably struggled a little bit with going in between either. Because you want to score runs, and so at the end of the day, and probably I've realised now is how you score runs. It doesn't really matter. So I probably previously you can get and a lot of cricketers these days probably get a bit more technical, thinking about technique and all sorts of stuff. But I've kind of thrown that out the door a little bit more and just focus on, hey, if I score, a runner ball 40, that could actually impact the game going forward or put pressure off my teammates or whatever it might be. And hopefully I do it consistently enough. It's not going to happen sometimes. And I put my team in positions to win games rather than going the other way and trying to, technically like be all correct, take your time, all sort of stuff. Like someone can just bowl you a good ball, like a Scotty Boland or whoever else, and just knock you over. And it's just like, well, that, why didn't I just try and put some pressure back on him? And that's kind of a bit of a change for me the last few years.
Are you still having fun? Have you always had fun playing professional cricket? There's obviously been ups and downs, etc. But coming back to the level of why you play the game.
Yeah. Probably not always. I would say I always had fun, I guess. I've found I've probably had some more bad days and good days over the years at times. But the last few years I've really enjoyed playing, and I think that's just maybe a perspective of where I am in my life with my family and my kids and what cricket, brings to me. Found a bit of a purpose with cricket. Certainly, it's more than just about me. So that's probably.
Do you want to dive into the purpose a little bit in regards to maybe identity as well, like Jack Wildermuth, the cricketer, versus Jack the person?
Definitely. I mean, that's a big one for me. Is I've been working on my identity probably the last couple of years. Obviously, I'm father of two little girls that I have to support. I'm doing some work outside of cricket. So for me, it's not all encompassing cricket and me as a person. So I think that's actually been brilliant for my cricket and made it a lot more fun and allows me to go out and play it with some freedom.
Right. And the perspective of maybe getting a duck, well, it's only a game of cricket. I can go home to my family. Like this is really important.
If this is the worst thing that happens today, that I go out and I, try and play a shot that's a strength of mine or whatever, I still get disappointed. I can walk off the field pretty easy going, this is not the worst thing that's happened to me. You know what I mean? That could happen today, really. So I think that's actually brought a lot of enjoyment in my cricket a little bit. Just that, I guess you throw that little bit of fear of failure out of the way. Then
it takes the pressure off you as well.
It takes the pressure off me, yeah.
Talk a lot about trusting the process, the coaches, the players, etc. You're going through a rut and you might be getting runs or wickets, etc. Like trust the process. Go back. Cass was talking about fun, etc. Yeah. When it comes to your process and trusting your process, have you got a process in your head?
Yeah.
And I suppose from the training point of view that you might be getting some good balls, you might be getting out, etc. But keep going, and that self-belief.
Absolutely. I think for me, it's been I still haven't worked it out. I've been, spent a fair bit of time in the game. I'm still figuring it all out. But absolutely I have a process. I have a process when I play my cricket. But also for me, getting the confidence has come from the work I've done outside, away from cricket, on the field. And that gives me the confidence that if this doesn't come off, I know that it's okay. So that's one of the big things. I worked real hard on my body, getting as fit as I can physically, get my body in good shape. I know I've done the work. So for me, that makes the process and when it doesn't come off a lot easier for me to deal with.
The fitness, the process around strength, etc. There's a program there, but then there's also things like up here in your mental health. There's also things like sleep and what you eat in your mouth. How rigid are you and how flexible are you on various things like that? Yeah,
it's funny.
Particularly with as a parent, mate, I can tell you firsthand. A little bit of a in the middle of the night that interrupts your little, what's it called, the deep sleep, the REM sleep.
I've become pretty good at, and whether this is a good thing, compartmentalizing. I think a little bit too. So I reckon I have when I'm at cricket, I'm at cricket, and when I'm at home, I'm at home. When I'm at work, I'm at work. So I've learnt to actually probably just be in the headspace of, okay, this is what I've got in front of me. So I wouldn't say I'm that rigid with all the, I want good sleep, I eat good food, I regularly walk, I do all the good things for my mental health, in terms of what you'd be encouraged to do to maintain good mental health, physical activity, good connection with others, I'm close to my family I've ever been, those sort of things. So I think all that kind of encompasses me as a person and allows me to play the cricket that I want to play.
And then with your teammates and the bonding that you have, the squads that you're in, the connection with some of your friends there, their friends off the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I got my cricket friends. I got my friends away from cricket. Certainly having, and especially in Queensland, we have such a great group of guys around. And for me is that we talk about identity before and purpose. Like I get such a thrill out of playing with the younger guys coming through, especially my club side Valleys and the Queensland guys. There's some such talent there in Queensland, and the guys are just a lot of fun. And so, you know, if I can help inspire them or bring them through, I just get real. I didn't think it'd be like that, but I get a real kick out of that.
Yeah, one of the values that you know, I live by and also have heard others is prosperity. You want to see other people succeed because that's a good feeling. You want to see a teacher, you know, help or coach someone to do something, etc. And speaking of squad members, we recently had Hayden Kerr on the podcast. Mate, have you got to know Hayden recently in the little squad thing?
Yeah, he's joined into Queensland. Obviously, come from the enemy, New South Wales. So
that's what I said too. But now he's at the Gold Coast too. You know?
Yeah, the Gold Coast club. So no, he's come into the group, you know, seamlessly it seems. So I would say we've got a pretty inviting group. So he's a good cricketer. Good to have him around the boys.
Mate, when it comes to your strengths, physically and also your cricket, you're a batter and a bowler, you're all rounder, and I don't know how you describe yourself in terms of that, where it's a batting all rounder, bowling all rounder, or because it seems
chops
to be
chops and
changes. Yeah. But in terms of doing both, you've got specialists on both sides. You're in the middle there somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're probably a little alone. Like there's not too many all-rounders floating around in Queensland and whatnot. There's probably 2 per team, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing in terms of, I suppose, focusing and honing in on your superpowers?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's something I've been trying to balance for a long time in my whole career, and it ebbs and flows a little bit. So I've had to be a bit flexible and with what teams I'm in and learn to kind of, not pigeonhole myself a little bit. So with Queensland, we've had, we've got some great cricketers that, with Michael Nessa, another all-rounder, Jimmy, obviously wicketkeeper batter, Xavier Bartlett, those sort of boys. So like it's got to the point where, you just kind of do what you got to do to win games of cricket, because at the end of the day, performance comes to winning games. So for me, that's probably been more the focus rather than going, I'm more of a batter, more of a bowler. But I work a lot harder probably on my batting. I found that has needed a lot of more work into mentally and just put the volume in there. While bowling's probably been a bit more natural to me since I was young.
The work when it comes to batting, is it just time and volume, or is there a particular coach or skill that you're going, right, I just need to feel good to get this right, get the infrastructure right to be actually in a position to hit the ball?
These days is more mentally, I think. I know I've done a lot of volume in the past, and for now it's not training too much in the nets. It's me, if I'm training, I'd love to get centre wickets out in the open, and then playing like grade cricket and T20 max and just playing consistent cricket has been for me more of a great I wouldn't consider training, but like a great way for me to learn and get better. While in the past I've probably spent too much time in the nets, rather than just sometimes being as fresh as I can, going out there and learning how to play the game when I go out there. Because every time you play cricket, the wicket's completely different, the conditions are completely different every single time you play. So I've kind of just learnt to try and be mentally, it's all been a lot of mental, having my plans, my process, and then go out and just learn on the job, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah, and the kids love games too. My son plays cricket, and all of a sudden they're training in the nets. It's great. And they go, we finished off with a game. It's so good. The game, like a little run chase or something like that. A bit of excitement, I suppose. But when it comes to world-class bowlers that you're facing and world-class batters that you're batting, do you think about that at all? Or you completely switch off? And I'm keen to understand your mindset when you're playing against someone really, really good, and you probably know that they're hitting around for a bit, and you're like, this is game on. I'm equally as good as them. Yeah,
it can be tough. Certainly, coming in facing a lot of these guys, or on the receiving end when they're batting. I think for me, I've put myself in the mindset a little bit of trying to, if I can, transfer pressure back onto them. That's my probably strength to go towards that way rather than the other way, and try and just put some pressure back on them. And that's when I've probably succeeded. So I've learnt over time that that's probably a strength of mine, is to try and put some pressure back on these guys.
When you're facing Pat Cummins or Scott Boland, it doesn't bother you who you're facing?
Well,
in your head?
It gets the adrenaline going, which is good, I think, in the game. So, I want to be facing these guys. That's the thing. If I'm facing these guys, I'm playing at a good level. So, I'm not going to try and step away from that, I guess. So,
yeah.
But hey, you got to respect the fact that these guys are pretty good cricketers. But, Yeah.
And then comes a pressure situation. Let's talk about the Shield final last year, under pressure. And then, what are you thinking when you're in a pressure moment? Do you love the pressure moments, or you get a little bit nervous?
I used to, I think, but these days, I don't know what, maybe it's just perspective, I think, for me, my life and my age these days, that I really enjoy being in that pressure environment. I get a real kick out of it, and it's, looking at the more pressure is, the reward's usually a lot bigger. And so for me, I look at a bit of success over the last, 12 to 18 months, and I look at the times, and they're the times when I'm under the most pressure, and it's come off, fortunately. So I look back to the Shield final and sitting in the change room before going out, knowing they'll be going out and I had to put a performance together. I knew that. I was really excited for that, to be honest. And I just wanted to play the way that I had been playing cricket. And if I can walk off the field and take a duck or whatever it is, if I go with the same attitude that I want to play my cricket. And so that just makes it easier for me.
Yeah. So then that attitude's just built over time, you reckon? Or has it already been? You learn, yeah.
Yeah, learn.
Yep. And you go out and you get a good one.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this so be it, right?
Yeah, exactly. As long as I'm mentally, in a position, or the process that I want to go about it is there, I can live with that. I'm more disappointed if I go away from that. But yeah, it's worked for me. So why not keep trying to do it again? It's not going to happen every time, but if I keep doing that, then hopefully consistently enough it comes off. And unfortunately, the last Shield, the 10th round of Shield in the final, it did. And it had probably taken most of the year to kind of get to that point, but I'd trusted that was the best way to go about playing my game.
When it comes to the individual aspect, and obviously you talk about your process and individual success, and then the bittersweet moment that maybe you've done your best, you've got 100 and the team doesn't get over the line, there must be a mixture of emotions from a team point of view and an individual point of view where people have given their best but it just didn't go your way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll be on the end of, when you win games and you don't perform, and then you perform and you don't win games. Certainly, I think back to that moment in the Shield final where, we had our opportunities to probably win that game, and really backs against the wall, and come out and be in a position to win the game on the last day. I think, in a sense, yeah, it's disappointing, but we're kind of pretty proud of ourselves a little bit too, to be honest. Like, there's winning and losing, but it's how you win and lose a little bit sometimes. So, yeah, it was certainly disappointing, but it was also a bit of credit to South Australia that had a good year and
they're at home. And there's the long history between drinks.
Long history between drinks, and seeing that crowd run on the field, and it's disappointing, no doubt about that. But at the same time, it's a great spectacle for cricket.
Mate, when it comes to perspective, you talked about that a lot now with your time in your career. Yeah. Like, in terms of where you're at, are you a goal setter? Have you been a goal setter in terms of individual milestones or giving it your best shot? I mean, as you said, you can do the process, trust the process. You get out for a duck and it ruins the average, and people go, "Oh, he's not going very well." But I'm trusting myself. Yeah. But is there goals there?
I try not to put too many goals in place, because then it can limit yourself a little bit, or things are out of my control. So if you get selected for a certain team or you get injured, like, certainly I don't want to put a limit. That's the thing. Like, for me, it's like, you go in, I want to score 200s this year. What happens when you score 200? It's like you're already there.
I want to score 3, like.
You know what I mean? So for me, it's not really putting a limit on particular goals. Maybe I'd say just like more of an encompassing goal. Like, for me, win that Shield final, score 100. Like, I'm trying to, my two little girls, like, I want to inspire them. So for me is just putting 100% in my cricket and showing that I can pursue a dream a little bit. And that's a massive one for me, I think. Rather than individual, like, I want to do this and that. I'd love to play 100 games for Queensland. That would be pretty cool. I think that's certainly something. If there's one thing, that would be pretty cool.
And there's some things out of your control with that, with injuries, etc. That random things, you fall down some stairs or something and twist your ankle, etc. So that's but in actually performance, that's probably a bit easier to get than scoring 100, right?
Yeah, it's just like, that's something that I'll be pretty proud of. and it's a hard goal to achieve. So that's something that's kind of crept up to go, hey, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Icing on the
And when you were
cake.
growing up as a kid, did you always want to put on that maroon and the baggy green? Is that something which was a bit of an aspiration as a kid, or was it a bit sort of laissez-faire?
To be honest, I didn't think I would actually get there. Like, I really didn't. My grandfather played Queensland. He was a wicketkeeper for Queensland, and he was someone pretty influential going up with my cricket. But no, I'd never really put myself there because, it was like, okay, what's my next team? Under 17 team, under 19, and you see these guys who you look up to and you're like, how am I going to go from here to there? Like, it's just bridging that gap a little bit. You can always dream, but I don't know, maybe I've just not really been that too far ahead, but
yeah, right. And what else did you do when you're growing up that maybe you wanted to be, or did you play other sports, or did you want to be a PE teacher like myself?
Yeah. Well, I've studied a lot of different things. Played soccer growing up, so that was my winter sport. Cricket, my summer sport. I was always probably a bit better at cricket maybe growing up, but had a good balance there. I studied landscape architecture for a little bit. PE teaching. I'm now business management at the moment, and going down the property path, commercial property. But I haven't really, I've given cricket a good crack.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then that other path which you mentioned about, are you studying is that you said?
Yeah, business management at the moment.
At whereabouts?
Yeah, Griffith University.
Oh, nice. I was at Griffith ex-Griffith University. They've just bought the campus in the old casino. I don't know if it's open yet.
Yeah. No, it looks pretty cool. So
yeah.
I'm more online these days. So
Yep. Oh, that's kids these days. No. We used to get 5% marks for rocking up. I remember that, which is like not much, but enough to go.
Yeah.
Could swing you, right?
Yeah, they're handy them.
Yeah, that's right. Even if you were not paying attention, you still get your 5%, mate. So commercial property, interesting. Outside of life of cricket, thinking about 10 years' time, when you're in your 40s, like I am now, what the plan is. You can play cricket for so long, and people can play till their 40s, and I get it, I understand, but there's also a plan B maybe in the back of the brain. Yeah,
so like last 12 months, I've been a bit over 12 months. I've started doing a bit of work in commercial property. I was at McGee's property in Brisbane. They gave me a start there, actually, which was really great, doing some work experience through the ACA, our union, which was
great,
awesome. Yeah, so that was a great opportunity. And I got into that and just it was such a nice environment to be in away from my cricket bubble. It had its own competitive environment of commercial real estate, working with like-minded people was really cool. And so I'm still working in commercial real estate. I'm employed now at Knight Frank. Working in their capital markets investment sales team at the moment. So I'm very grateful they've brought me on, employed me into their team while I'm playing cricket in their kind of student program. So that's pretty cool. So
student program at the tender age of 32.
32. I'm the oldest student in there. But it was a great way for them to get me involved in the business, and I've got a lot to learn. But one day a week at the moment, I try and get in the office if I can. It's been brilliant because cricket's been so supportive of it. Sometimes I'm a bit like, they're like, oh no, are you going to the office tomorrow? I'm like, this is still you. You guys are paying me. You know what I mean? Like, that's my job. I'm doing this just on the side, I guess, a little bit because, like you asked me before, in 10 years' time, or in whoever, who knows, in a couple of years' time, I'm going to need to get a job.
So when people come up to you, some random punter that you never met before at a bar, and they're sort of saying, oh, g'day, Jack. Yeah, how are you, mate? Yeah, good. What do you do? What do you say?
I would say I play cricket, but I also do some work in commercial property. So a bit of both.
But then in the commercial property crowd, you're like, oh, I work for Knight Frank.
Yeah.
In a boardroom.
Bit of both. It depends what the
hat on,
and
hat
then
off.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of like, for me, it's giving me a little bit of both. And then if they want to talk about one thing, they want to talk about the other, then I'm happy to talk about either one, a little bit. So.
And then they see you on the telly, they're like, I swear I saw that bloke at a lunch the other day talking about commercial property.
Yeah. No, that's the plan for me. Hopefully I can kind of, because it's such a client relationships role, with commercial properties, maintain relationships and kind of, working with people to get outcomes and problem solve and stuff that I really, really get a kick out of. So for me, it's building that up, and, we get in front of so many sponsors, so many people as cricketers, having something other than saying, oh yeah, I'm playing cricket, like happy to talk about that. But sometimes people go, oh, well, hang on, I've got this and having some issues with this. And then I'm like, well, okay, if I can't help you, I've got a team of mine at Knight Frank. We can kind of come in and suggest some things or give you some advice. And so I get a real kick out of that personally. So, yeah.
Some of the traits of high performers when it comes to sport then sort of translates over to business. What do you reckon you're pretty good at in terms of some of the traits of a professional cricketer, professional athlete that you might take over? Yeah,
definitely. One thing I've noticed in the industry, in the last 12 months is you do, and what I see with other colleagues is the setbacks. I think there's a lot of no's before you get a yes. And you can be working on a deal for a fair bit of time and then suddenly just gets pulled out from under you, which is a bit like cricket, to be honest. Like, you can work so hard for so long, get one opportunity, and then it just blows in your face, and it's like, oh wow, which is it takes a level of resilience, I would say. So those similarities, I think perhaps I can bring that experience of mine into that setting, and obviously dealing with pressure and all that. I think is a valuable skills that I can transfer.
Resilience is an interesting one because it sort of veers over sometimes to competitive as well. Like, if you're a really competitive person, you're never going to give up to try and win, and therefore you can probably say that it is resilience to somewhat in terms of like getting bashed there. No, I've got to keep winning. Got to keep going. Yeah. Are you competitive? Are you ultra competitive?
Yeah, I would say I'm competitive, definitely.
What's driving that, and where did that come from?
Oh, gee, good question. It's probably just come in nature a little bit, I think, and I think it's that you get a little bit of highs from winning, right? And I think you get that with cricket, and you get that in sales. Those little highs are kind of
the little dopamine hit keeps you coming back, right?
Hits, yeah, definitely. Yeah. They're the things that I perhaps I seek.
And then when it comes to the ledger of wins and losses of cricket games in your life, where do you reckon you're at?
Wins and losses in life.
In cricket.
In cricket? It'd be a really interesting stat to know, actually. Gosh, probably more losses than wins, to be honest with you. Yeah, probably. Like, in terms of performance, like, you look at some of the great cricketers, like Ricky Ponting. I think they reckon he succeeded 1 out of every 4 innings, and that's meant to be really good.
Yeah, I know. And then Roger Federer lost. Well, he won 52% of his points.
Yeah, so these guys who...
one in every 2 points is losing.
Average 50-odd in Test cricket, and they're succeeding 1 out of 4 innings. It's like, when you think about it, it's like, well, that's not really a great success rate. But that's, when you step away, but that's what the elite are doing. So there's some takes a level of resilience there.
And from a bowler's point of view, you can bowl really well and they can play and miss all day, right? Yeah. And then you can bowl some pies and get 5 for, right? Is that kind of sums up sometimes?
Yeah. I think the first part, is probably more relevant to me, to be honest. It'd be nice if I bowled absolute pies and got 5 but no, definitely. I think across the game it's a bit like that.
Mate, cricket as a sport, where do you think it's at right now in terms of, we're at BBL 14, I think it is? And you last spot on the Heat coming into next year with the BBL, or this year and next year. You're excited about BBL, you're excited about Sheffield Shield, even though the numbers in terms of crowd numbers are probably not there anymore like they used to be.
Yeah.
You got the one-day competition, which you mentioned that is potentially blended in.
Yeah. And
then you've got Tests. You've got the Ashes coming this year, which again from last year's series against India, the punters on the street are going, this is an amazing series of cricket. Australia, India, England into India this year. Again, an incredible series, probably up there with some of the greatest series of all time. Then you've got England coming out here. Test cricket feels like it's back because you've got the big guns. But where do you think cricket's at and in terms of a player now and maybe as a spectator in the future?
Okay. Yeah, as a player, it's definitely an interesting space, especially with all these T20 leagues coming along and, they're talking about privatising the games and stuff like that. And I think that's a big one coming up with the BBL. Like, teams are looking to buy and get into these teams and pumping some money into the game. So I think Cricket Australia and the union, the players, they've got some big decisions coming up, certainly where the game goes in terms of the Big Bash.
Do they sell part of their golden goose or all their golden goose? Because it seems like the BBL is just 14 years in, has lasted the test of time, more so in terms of like accelerating growth as opposed to declining.
For sure. I do think there's going to be some big decisions to make, and there's going to be some change, I think, I'd imagine, because, we've got to compete with these other leagues and try and get the best players out playing the Big Bash and try and get our test players playing, because I think that's what the Australian public wants to see is our test players playing Big Bash. So guys going to have to make some pretty big decisions there. From a player's perspective, I think, I look at our group and generally the consensus is everyone wants to play test cricket. There's the lucrative deals around and going on for guys, but I think even the younger guys, they all want to play test cricket, which is pretty cool and pretty good. And
I thought it would have been the opposite, broadly speaking.
Generally,
going, if I can play West Indies, I can play the 100, I can play here, and I can play there, maybe in America as well.
Yep,
I'm a full-time T20 cricketer, and that's my life.
Yeah, I mean that could change, but at the moment it seems like everyone's pretty keen on playing that the test cricket and get that baggy green, which is pretty cool, and that means Sheffield Shield's important as well. So. Certainly with the expansion of the BBL and where that's going, white ball, from players' perspective, I think it's in a good spot.
And Jack, from a player's perspective, there's also an element of storytelling that needs to go on with brand awareness and brand equity and yourself as a professional athlete and connections. And you mentioned you're talking about commercial property, and it's really good to get in business, but there's things like Instagram as well.
Yeah.
You've got a decent following, the whole process of Instagram and social media and being transparent to the public. How have you found it?
Yeah, I've certainly over the years I've had to probably learn to accept that it's okay to probably sell yourself a little bit on Instagram and social media, and important too. Certainly the last 12 months to 18 months with my work, I've kind of understood that, hey, it's part of business a little bit. So, and as a cricketer, you're also selling yourself, whether it's on and off the field. So,
there's a slight introvert in you, I reckon.
Yeah.
Are you more of an introvert than extrovert?
Maybe it chops and changes. I don't know.
Yeah, chops and changes with performance.
I think I like being around people, but I also like having my own space and getting away. They say introverts need the time to fill your bucket up a little bit. So
the petrol.
So I can be a bit like that, where I like being in front of people, around people, but then I enjoy having my own space or being with
your family and
family and close people to me to fill that bucket up.
But then sort of getting in front of the camera and doing things potentially for Instagram, the highs and the lows, you're pretty sort of okay with that all?
Yeah, just go with it, make it a bit of fun.
Do you do like where you're having coffee and tag the restaurants and things?
I do sometimes with dinner, maybe, and bits and pieces.
A shout out to some of the restaurants that you like here in Brisbane.
They're probably not giving me a discount, do I?
Well, you can always try on Scoreboard.
I think you need a few more followers, I reckon. But
I asked my guests around a long lunch with friends or a long run with friends. What are you going to take?
Who am I going to take?
No, as a choice, you're going to go for a long run with mates and have a good old chin wag, or you want to go for a long lunch with mates? One or the other.
The long lunch, I reckon, because that doesn't happen that often.
And where would your long lunch in Brisbane go on?
Oh, geez. Well, we're going Xavier Bartlett, Tom Whitney.
Tom Whitney came on Scoreboard early days. He's a good young kid, Tom.
A few of those boys. Matt Kuhneman, probably. Get him in if he's in town.
Really?
Yeah, get him in. He's a good time. So I'm going with those sort of crew, I reckon. We're going down to James Street somewhere or something.
Somewhere fancy on James Street.
Somewhere fancy and
Moscone is a good shout on Arthur Street.
I love Moscone, very great place.
Mate, it's great.
To go.
Indoors or outdoors, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a bit too classy for those boys maybe. They're probably more the Carlisle or something like that,
Or the Queen's Arms.
The Queen's Arms, yeah. No, that's probably a few, maybe a couple of beers beforehand, but we don't get to do it that often these days. I
was going to say, because with socials as well, you don't want to be you're going to be out and about and being social, etc. But there's always maybe someone stops you and says, "Oh, there's a cricket boys over there. Take a photo and stuff." Is that kind of?
Oh, yeah, it does happen a little bit, but everyone's in good spirits. So, it's okay. Everyone's in good spirits usually.
Yeah. Hey, mate, we did touch on the future and we talked about things like property and shares I'm going to talk about the investments and things like that. How are you seeing that as a future for you in terms of your family and the job, etc., and what what the boys talk about when there's a little bit of time in the sheds and you're batting number 7 or number 8 and you mightn't be in for a day.
Yeah, for
what
sure.
do you and also a rain break? What do you guys talk about?
Oh, it depends who you're talking to. But I think we're talking about investing and all that sort of stuff. I've been fortunate to have Chris Smith. He's a financial wealth manager from Vices. I met him early days in my career, and he's really helped me in that space and tried to help set me up for post-cricket. Obviously, give me some great advice along the way, but trying to set me up in and get me involved in the share market. He probably introduced me into that and the benefits of that, and talking about risk profiling and all that sort of stuff. So it's been great for me to have someone who's an expert in this field to support me in that space. And so over time, I've learnt that it's actually a really great space to make some money. We're fortunate as cricketers that we can earn some pretty good money, and I've probably been involved in the share market for 8-9 years, maybe bits and pieces. So for me, it's kind of been a lot of long-term investing, stuff like that. But I think naturally the cricketers and generally the public like talking about property, and everyone wants to own a property and see that as a tangible asset to have. So the talk between the boys is try and get into the property market. It's getting harder and harder in Brisbane. I think
harder and harder everywhere, by the way,
everywhere.
Not just in Brisbane and
it's
every
crazy.
capital city in Australia.
Crazy. So there's we probably talk about property a little bit more so than shares and different things like that. But
you had a share that you followed for 8 or 9 years that you've always been a fan of.
Mate, to be honest, I was fortunate. I had a pretty good run in COVID. I think it was like Astrocrat Leisure. Like I jumped in when it dipped with COVID and stuff like that. And
there were some wild swings on COVID.
Some wild swings.
March 2020. I was behind the computer as a stockbroker. Mate, that was my previous life for 20 years.
All right, that's tough. Yeah,
and it reminded me. I mean, I'm a few grey hairs. I was in the GFC in 08-09 as well, behind the desk. There's some wild swings there, obviously, and you're like, is this banking system going to collapse?
Yeah.
And then COVID was completely different, but it just, again, the velocity of the falls and waking up and seeing Woodside down 30% and the oil price at zero, and then you're going, hold on a second, what's this thing? Like, how do you deal with this thing? And then the markets are reacting as well, and you're going, you just need to be calm and composed. It's very difficult to do. But obviously a lot of investment opportunities.
I guess, on the back of it, if you're in a position to be able to do it.
If you're in a position to be able to do it. But it's left, like out of nowhere. You're going, whoa, what is this? And the understanding of this pandemic was, a time and place which our kids, or maybe not your kids, maybe 2020.
Just the first one.
Yeah, around probably talking just as they were born.
Yep.
But my middle one was at prep that year. That's his first year at school. We has to come home and homeschool with mum and dad, and we were like, we don't know anything about teaching.
No.
And we're going to try our best, but this is weird and wacky time. Anyway, we are digressing.
Yeah.
We do have a sponsor in Scoreboard. It's Swyftx, Australia's most trusted crypto platform. They've got over 1.1 million users in Australia and New Zealand. Do you guys talk about crypto at all?
There is a bit of talk of it, bits and pieces. There's a couple of guys that we do. A
couple of guys got lucky. Long-term investing.
Everyone tells you they're good stories. So between that and punting, do you know what I mean? You always get the good stories. So
yes, not the losses, indeed. But as part of our sponsorship with Swyftx, we do a little segment, and it's called the Bucket List.
Yeah.
Because their new TVC and new ad campaign is called "Where Can Crypto Take You?" And the Bucket List is a sporting event that you haven't attended live in person that you would love to attend. Jack Wildermuth, your bucket list sporting event.
The Football World Cup would be a bucket list.
Oh, that's a cracker. I think that's our first, to be honest.
Yeah.
We must be up to one yet, shortly. I think
next year. I think
next year.
One. Yeah. So the last one was around COVID. So
and Australia made the. I think they made
qualified.
They made the 8 last time as well. I think it was one of our best performances. What a cracking event that is, and just the whole world's watching it at the same time. And
I think so. Yeah.
There's always Germany, there's always Netherlands, always Brazil in and around, and France.
Yep. No, it's just so big. I think that's the size of it, and that would be pretty cool event to attend.
We also ask our guests about their all-time favourite sporting moment, and I preface this that you are an athlete, so you can maybe include yourself, but I'm not too much interested in around yourselves. But your actual all-time favourite sporting moment, something that you could probably watch 1,000 times.
Yeah, I reckon off the back of the football, I think John Aloisi scoring the penalty.
05.
believe,
in Sydney,
around 05.
because 06 was the World Cup year before.
I think as a young kid, that was pretty awesome. Ticket to the World Cup, the reaction, I thought that was...
You can just see, like, you watch the replay 1,000 times and just him stepping up and just going, and then as soon as he knew that it was in, he does this turn and takes the shirt off, goes for a run.
And the commentary, you know, like you could see how much it meant to the commentators and the guys involved in Football Australia. Like, yeah, I thought that was a pretty iconic sporting moment, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, there's a few around that era as well. Steve Waugh hitting the last ball at the SCG. They actually held the news off back then. It's like, oh, wow, they held the news off for that.
Yeah.
Kids these days won't know anything about that.
The Ashes as well. 2005 Ashes. Certainly that series was, you know, pretty iconic.
Freddie Flintoff.
People still talk
Brett
about
Lee
it.
and but that India-England series is pretty good. Keep an eye on that one.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
year.
Yeah, no, it's always great watching cricket, the England Test matches. So
do you watch a bit of cricket yourself?
I watch a little bit. You know, not too much, but I enjoy watching cricket in England and India, maybe like that. But I don't watch that much in Australia. Like, my head's in it enough as it is.
Yes, kids, family, cricket, property, lots of things. Now, we also do this segment called the Scoreboard Moment, which is a moment in your life which is very visual.
Yeah.
It's quite an image, and you're like, oh, I remember that, and I remember it clearly, and from that moment, life changed.
Yeah. I think back. I'll go with my cricket career maybe. I think as a young, I think I might have been 18, 19. I was at home one morning before I was about to go cricket, and my grandfather, who was very inspirational for me, I guess, growing up, and it was really unfortunate. He was really unwell at the time, and probably didn't have that long to live really. And he'd come down to watch. He was coming out to watch me play that day. Anyway, I remember walking vividly as I was going to walk out the door downstairs. He was staying at my parents' place as well, I believe, and he kind of just said to me, he said, "Mate, whether you score 1 or 100 today, like I'll be proud of you and I still love you." And that was just like such a nice thing for him to say. I think I responded with, "What if I get a duck?"
1 or 100, you're like,
yeah, like 1 or 100.
What about the quacker?
Like, what about nothing? Anyway, I ended up scoring, I think, 150 or not out that day, or 70. Actually, more than that, 170 maybe not out for my club. And he was there watching, and he sat there the whole day and watched. And I think for me, that was just a light bulb memory to go, geez, that was pretty special. So that's something, a memory I hold pretty close to me. And I remember just walking off the end of the day, gave him a hug. And I didn't think he had too much to say. I was thinking he was in tears, but that was pretty cool.
That is very special, as opposed to a moment in my life when my parents drove me to the Sunshine Coast in Lord's Taverners, opened the batting, got a golden duck, lost the game in about 2 hours, and drove back to Brisbane.
So when you take the bus,
that was a good 1 hour 40 times 2. It was like a 200-minute drive for one ball.
Oh, don't worry, I've done that before.
Yeah, mate. Last question. Some advice for cricketers out there that are young now, that are aspiring to become a professional athlete. They're aspiring to look up to maybe play in the BBL or Test cricket, whatever it might be, and maybe even not even cricket, maybe a professional athlete as a living. Yeah. Some advice.
Sky's the limit, I think, a little bit. You know, don't cap yourself, I reckon. And I'm saying that based off maybe me in the past when being younger a little bit, you know, dream big. You know, there's so much opportunity these days in sport. And as a cricketer, that I don't think, just don't hold yourself back, I guess.
Keep having fun as well.
Have fun, Sky. Whatever happens, but
and you've given it your best shot, right?
You give your best shot, but don't limit yourself on what you can do. I think that's a big thing.
That's some great advice, and all the advice that I've got in this podcast is not generally about trophies. It's about winning. They come at some point in time if you continue with the process. But
they're cool rewards.
Dreaming big and giving it a shot, trusting your process, trusting you. Jack Wildermuth, thank you so much for being on Scoreboard, the podcast today. I really do appreciate you having a chat. Coming in person, all the best for the upcoming season with Queensland and the Brisbane Heat in 25, 26, a big year ahead. Look forward to following your progress and supporting where I can.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.